We're going. And Shae, I'm going to turn over to you and thank Tracy once again for the presentation. That was really helpful.
Hi. Okay, so I'm going to, oh wait, I forgot. I accidentally flipped my headset, so it's on the wrong side. I'm going to share my screen. Sharing this, maybe. This one. Did it pop up? I think it did. Okay. Yes. Yes. Then slide.
It's there.
Oh. Yay, happiness. Okay. Okay, so this is for similar to Tracy. I'm going to talk a little bit of our intake, but I'm also going to focus on our learner assessment. And we use the same learner assessment for both English as a second language learners and for adult literacy learners. We just kind of like modify it a little bit. So the San Diego Quick. Okay. So the San Diego Quick is a assessment tool that can take as little as 5 minutes. Um, and so we'll show you kind of how to do that. Before I, just like Tracy, um, before I do an intake and after I do an intake, a lot of it is a lot of positive affirmation, talking to people, very conversational. We do not have a registration process the same way that Tracy's did. We do have an online part of our website that says if you're interested in learning more, please fill out a registration form. And it pretty much just has contact information, what you want to and what you want to know. And then we reach out, we call people, and we usually don't email because if they're coming to our system, then they might not be able to read very well or they might not have the skills. And so we actually will first call them. If the note is in another language, that a lot of times we'll actually send a text first. We use a Google Voice option so that we can actually we made a Gmail account for our literacy program. So we can use texting all of our tutors and learners, and it makes it pretty fast for being able to use Google Translate to translate into another language. And so we set up an appointment for them to come in and do what we have our intake. Our intake, the paperwork actually only takes about 10 minutes. Our assessment is less than 10 minutes, but we tell when the learners come in, like how long, we usually give them about 30 minutes. But our window, what we have for a reservation, we usually try to reserve a whole hour. A lot of it is because of conversation. Just like with Tracy's, we're wanting to get to know who they are as a person, get them relaxed and say like, this is not school. Especially if you had a really hard and difficult time in school, this is not that. It's not teachers. We specifically use the word, terms mentors. We call you learners. It's meant to just be like you have goals and we're helping you accomplish your goals. So we ask what their hobbies, what they did and didn't like, whatever rabbit trails and tangents it goes on, we just, we end up wanting to build that rapport. So if a person is a beginning level ESL learner, we do actually have tutors who sometimes just through years of practice and training, they're comfortable working with beginners. I have tutors who are currently working with higher level ESL learners that I am training to work with beginning level because it's a little different. And our our local community college, they have ESL classes, but the ESL classes they have are more geared towards intermediate levels. So we actually get a lot of referrals from the college for our beginning English class. And we have some learners who they don't know much of any English at all. And we might not have a tutor who speaks the same language as them. And even then, sometimes some of the translation apps, like let's say if they are a native speaker of Mien or Hmong, uh, the translation apps, there's different dialects. It doesn't always work as well for some of those languages. And if they don't have someone with them, we do the best we can. And we recommend they would attend also our classes that we have that I teach and which I'll get to a little bit. But so we try to do as best as we can. We use a lot of translation apps. I speak a little bit of Spanish. I speak a little bit of Korean, but that's about it. So we mostly use our phones and tablets if they don't have the English skills. After finishing the assessment, it's a lot of positive, encouraging, just building that rapport. Okay. Our intake form, this is kind of like the stuff like what Tracy was talking about with hers, like a lot of the information we actually collected during the intake. I do not hand this paper to the learner. I fill this out. And some of our learners, when I start just writing everything down, they feel relieved because they were worried that they would have to write it down. Some of them, you can tell like they might feel a little bit affronted, like, oh, I can do that. And so what I always say is, I write this down because it helps me remember the information. It helps me to remember who you are and the answers so I can better find you a tutor. So it's like, so I let them know up front, like, I will be writing this information. I will be recording this because I know kind of which questions I want to ask to save you a little bit of time because some of it doesn't apply. And, it just helps me. It helps me to remember what we went over. So just kind of say that it's not about their ability at all. And then it does help me guide the intake. We get their contact information. We ask if it's okay to leave a message at home because maybe they are of a situation where they don't want anyone to know they're coming into the literacy office. And so we actually want to know if it's okay to leave a message on their, like if they had an answer machine or if they have a shared thing or somewhere, is it okay for us to leave a message? How do they prefer to be contacted? Email, phone, or text? We got their country of birth, their ethnicity, what language, their native language versus what language spoken at home, because those are two different things. How many years spoken in the US? Now we ask about their kids because, we have a family literacy program. So even if they're not coming kind of like for family literacy or to helping connect with their children or working on school or reading, the fact they have kids, we then invite them to our family literacy programs. Ask about their education. And we always ask, like, what did they like about school? Because let's say their goal is to get their GED, which is one of the things that people come in a lot for us. Is just the GED. We know, like, maybe they loved learning, they loved school, but they didn't like their teachers, or they had a bad experience with teachers, or they had a bad experience with other peers in the classroom. So it kind of lets us know when people come in, they have kind of an education mindset. And so it's kind of like seeing what maybe some of those triggers were for them that cause them to like either not be successful in school or be successful in school, depending upon, whether it's in English second language or a native speaker. I cannot go away. Okay. And have you had a tutor before? What was your experience? We ask how they heard about it. And most of the people hear about our program from other learners and our goals. Same thing when you're asking a goal, a lot of people will say, I want to read better, or I want to get the GED, or I want to, speak English. Yes, but like we actually have to help them, expand those goals. Like say for the GED, that's a long-term goal. What would you like to focus on first? There are, 4 top parts, the GED. Say if you want to learn reading and writing, well, why do you want to learn reading and writing? Well, what is it that you're wanting to do? So we kind of finesse the goals. And they don't have to have 3. It just kind of gives us an area. Why'd you come for tutoring now? The same thing kind of like having with those learners who meet and then don't show up again. Why now? Why not 6 months ago? Why not 2 months from now? Why specifically now is a good time for tutoring? It helps them to see, okay, like, is this even a good time? Is this going to work out? Or maybe if it doesn't, we could actually have that conversation saying that even if you can't come in, like even if right now things get really busy in your life, it's okay. We'll still be here, fingers crossed, that, that you can still come back again. It's like, okay to take a break. Do you prefer a male or female tutor? Same reasons Tracy said. We have some people who, whether it is their past, like maybe they had an abusive spouse, or maybe it's the cultural, religious reasons, we want to kind of know whether which one they prefer. When are you available? And we do have a conversation saying that the more times you're available, the easier it will be for us to find you a tutor. And we also explain that, all of our tutors, they tend to be, for us, our tutors tend to be older and retired, and so they're all volunteers. So it can take us a while to find you a tutor. So please be patient. Don't worry, we're not dropping you. Just like it can take a while. So if there's a change in your availability, please just, let us update us. We ask about their working because especially it shows kind of like their time, or maybe if they're like, let's say they have a work schedule changes, it's information for the tutor also, because depending on the person, some people are very flexible and totally fine with, oh yeah, it makes sense you're 5 minutes late, which we have a conversation with our tutors that 5 minutes is not necessarily late. But it may shows like, hey, this person is, they have kid, they'll have to stay home. This person, they have work, they're doing this. You just showing kind of like a little more of their life. We ask, what they want to do and what they're interested in, because if we can find a good match with the tutor, like maybe the person is seeking a job in like the HVAC or heating and air, and we actually have a person who, used to work, that's what they did. They might be a good match. They can talk about things or give industry or help connect the person to other things in the community. We ask about like their hearing and their vision. One, we provide reading glasses in our program. And also it kind of lets them know the hearing. Like we had one learner had with deaf in one ear. It's helpful for the tutor to know to not sit on that side. Transportation, if they're taking the buses in our areas are very irregular. And so just kind of like if needed, we know, okay, hey, they might be a little late. The bus might be canceled. They're walking. If there's inclement weather, we might be reaching out to them saying, hey, is it like, are you still gonna be able to make it? Because it's pouring down rain. So, kind of letting us know those things about them. Anything else they'd like to share about us, and emergency contact. And then the notes. This is where we actually put also the information that we learn about from their assessment or anything that we've noticed or something. Like if I had say a learner is really nervous about, really, really nervous, really shy, or downplays their abilities, I actually might note that just for the tutor to know like, hey, this person really needs a lot more affirmation. This person really is really nervous. Just anything, little thing. And I'll put all my notes about the assessments in this form. Okay, so that's our intake form. Also for all you new coordinators. I have no idea if we created this form or if we borrowed it from one of the other coordinators. Don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. I know I didn't make this form. It might have been the previous coordinator, or like I said, we might have gotten it from another coordinator in the state of California. If you want to have this form and to customize it, you are welcome to. Share alike. This is not, we're not selling this. This is available if you want to use this for whatever reason. Because I don't even know if we made it. Okay, next. Back to the San Diego Quick Assessment. It is a tool developed in 1969 to assess a child's grade reading level. It was designed by Margaret LaPrey and Raymond Ross. It's chosen from a basic readers at the time, like basic 20,000 words, you should know. And they just randomly chose the words at different levels. It takes about 10 minutes to complete. It has been proven that it kind of does give a general outline to where a learner's reading level is, grade reading level. It is also very helpful for seeing what phonemes or consonant blends or sounds a student could struggle with. It may indicate a student is struggling with dyslexia, but it's not a replacement for a dyslexia test. But for example, if you have a student I'll skip that. Sorry, jumping ahead. But yeah, so there are 10 lists of words starting with primer level, ending at 11th grade. They're asked to read the words out loud on the list. And if a student can't read the word, like they're saying, like, I don't know what it is, or doesn't read it correctly, we just kind of note it. And I don't mean physically note it as in on a clipboard. I mentally just note it. After 2 mistakes, that card is marked as instructional. When a student makes 3 mistakes, that's frustration. It's like, okay, that's just above them. And then we just stop the assessment at 3 mistakes. Students can correct themselves, so it's no longer a mistake. For example, if a student quickly reads quickly, but the word is actually quietly, like, oh, no, sorry, I mean quietly, then that is marked as correct. It's not a mistake. They just went too fast. If a student is sounding out a word, like say quickly, they're quick, quiet, quietly. Yeah, that's fine. They can take 5 seconds to sound out. That's still considered correct because they're understanding the phonics in order to, to read that word. The list that a student does not make any mistakes on is marked as independent. We will start them at the independent level. We want them to feel success. We want them to get reading at their actual level, not their instructional or frustration, and then we build up to it. Okay. Dyslexia. It's not a replacement for an actual professional evaluation. We don't diagnose anyone with dyslexia. We're not professionals in that. But it's just helpful to know if we're looking at some of the things people are, when they're doing certain things, we're like, I wonder if they have. And very often, when we ask the person at the end, like, hey, is there anything else you'd like to tell us? More often than not, they will say, oh, I have dyslexia. I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and as a child, and this is, one of the reasons why I struggle with school or various other things. And one of the common things we see is missing words. Like you guess a word based on the first 3 letters, like quietly, quickly, interrupted, interested, realize, really. You see it, the first 3, and then they fill it in. Or, the common of switching around letters like B and D, or saying like bigger instead of digger. Those are some common things that we notice when person, especially the one where it is guessing a word based on the first 3. More often than not, the person will then tell us that they have dyslexia when they guess those things. ESL, it is internationally recognized as grade read level of students. Like a study in 2013, the Malaysia, they found that when they did the assessment, it actually matched the student's self-assessment of where they were at. It's in addition to finding the independent read level, can help determine pronunciation target areas. Okay, so let's look at the cards. Well, actually, we're gonna skip that. Okay, then we'll go back because I want to show you the cards first, so it actually makes sense the other part. I need to rearrange my slides. So this one, these 2 are primer. It's the see, play, me, at, run, go, and look, can, hear. You come, not with, jump, help, is, work, are, this. These are primer level. And I would have the cards. I have them set out. I actually have them just laminated that I then bring to the intake. And I just have them for the students. I put a card out and the student just reads the words out loud as use them. At first, oftentimes I'll put my finger on it and I'll go down, and then I take my finger away and just have the person read the cards. So then this is primer, and then we get into the hour, please, myself, town, early. That one is level 1, then level 2, and so on. And so lots of times we can tell the people like by what phonics, like do they know the ow sound? Are they good with, do they say careful and not read the full carefully or quietly at the end? Now back to my adaptions. I don't count pronunciation errors exactly as mistakes, but I note them. So like if this person does not say the TH sound, or they say like with a D sound instead, I don't count it as a mistake. Correct, because cultural or whether it is their native language, that could be the sound for the TH sound. If they say the I sound as E instead of I don't count that as a mistake, but I'll note it just because, well, if they're a Spanish speaker, that could just be like that's their accent, and it's fine. And if their goal is accent reduction, then we might, we'll talk about that or as a goal, but I'm not counting it as a mistake. They know what the I is, they know what the S is, they know how to say it. Now let's say they say improved instead of improved. I don't count it as a mistake, but I do note that they need instruction in the ED endings. And I mean mental notes. I'm not writing this on a clipboard. That's very daunting. I make note of which letter sounds or letter combinations that learners are kind of struggling with. I make note of which ones the learners are doing really well. Like most native speakers will read LIVE as live, but if an ESL student reads it as live, well, it lets me know they know the silent E rule. We have alive or lives, so that's why most native speakers will say live, because it is live. But it lets you, okay, so I just note it as, okay, they know that it's all, that I with that E is a long I. Okay, cards the students easily read go into one pile. As soon as the student starts making an error, I kind of set it to a different pile. At 3 errors, or not being able to read 3 words, I stop the assessment. Now, when doing this, sometimes I tell the learner ahead of time, just read them. If you can't, just skip it. You can try, then skip it, go to the next one. A lot of times will look to me to get corrections. They're like, oh, what is it? They want to know. I'm like, oh no, it's okay. Just keep going. You're doing good. Keep going. Because I don't want to correct them at this point. We're just getting through the words. It's just to see where they're at. It's not if I start saying like they're like and they're looking at me. If I say early, no. I want to see what they know. And it's just to see, and if they're correct, and then a lot of times they get discouraged, like they're not doing well. Even if they pronounce it completely wrong, I still smile and nod because I just want to see where they're at. And if I correct them too many times, they're getting discouraged and thinking, oh, I don't know how to do this. I can't do this. I can't speak English. I can't read. It's like, no. So I will smile and nod at all of them as if they got them all correct because we just watch just to see where they're at. Okay. Then afterwards, I'll have the pile of the struggle. I'll say like, of these two lists, which words do you not know? Then they might point out which words maybe they pronounce some words correctly, but they don't know what they mean. For native speakers or English speakers, there are some who they actually have a really good grasp of phonics, but they don't actually know the words at all. And so then I'm like, okay, let me read these out loud to you and then see if you understand the word. And so then I read the list out loud. And then sometimes it turns out that there are words that they thought were a completely different word if they had said it incorrectly. And then I say it and they're like, oh, that's a different word than I thought. Oh, yeah, I don't know what that means. So I always read it back out loud again for them. Okay, there's the cards again. These are some more different levels. And let's see, Grim. Grim is up to level 6.
So Shae, I just want to point out there's about 10 minutes left. So I want to make sure you get to the start, which is a great resource.
Gotcha. Okay, I already talked all about that. So skipping ahead. Let's start. Let's start actually comes in the books, where to Let's Start, which is actually a guide. You can find it on New Readers Press. It is actually a very, very helpful guide for adult and ESL literacy. It comes with assessments. It comes with lesson plans. It comes with guides for just how to teach pronunciation. It comes with pronunciation guides. It comes for letter guide. There's a whole bunch of resources in there. I give a copy to every single one of my new tutors during our orientation. And one of my tutors was actually really daunted by the amount of info in it. So now I actually open up the book during orientation. I say, here, let me show you how to use this book. Because she was concerned that she had to know all of it because she did not have an educational background. And she was very certain that she's like, oh, I can't tutor. I don't know what any of this is. So we go through on how to use it. It also comes with an assessment guide that has pictures. It has teaches you all how to do it, how to use the assessment. It has whether you have high language skills or low language skills. It's actually really nice. I only use about a part of it because we use the San Diego Quick. Let me skip to this. I use the alphabet cards, which are fantastic. Like if a person reads when they're doing the Sangyo Quick and it has a primer, they're at primer level where they have really struggled with primer level, I will go to the ABC cards and I will ask them to say the names of the cards, which lets me know okay, well, if they know the names of the letters, then it really helps them. Okay, they might have had some formal English instruction or they know a little bit. And then I ask them for the sounds. When I try to say the sounds in English versus whatever, their native language. And then it lets me know, do they even know the sounds? Or do they even know with the quash, or even which one's going to be their default for the CH? Because it has 3 sounds, the TH has 2. And then it lets me know kind of, okay, these are where they're struggling and which letters do they not know. Even for a native speaker, if they're really beginner and they can't read and write real well, it lets me still know where their foundational phonics level is. We also have story cards. We may not use them, but I actually have them on a 3-ring little clip laminated that I bring. And if I have a learner says, I can't really understand what I'm reading, I will use the story cards to gauge their reading comprehension level for myself. Or if they have on their SDQ, they really feel like when their pronunciation really feels like it's between a few levels, like I can't really match it, I will pull out the story cards and I will have them read the story and then ask them questions about it. Or if their read decoding level was really high, but they didn't know any of the words, I'm like, well, okay, let me test your reading comprehension. And I will have them read the story. And then I will ask them comprehension questions. So like, unlike in the San Diego Quick, like a word assessment, if they get stuck, I help them. It's fine. It's just because it's reading comprehension, lots of smiling, nodding as they read. And the questions are going to be, depending on their level, are going to be very simple to a little more complex. Like, is Tom's car big or small? It's right in the details. Does Tom like his car? You know, this one's right in the details. Now, what happened to Tom's car? That one, it also helps me with like, okay, what vocabulary do they know, or what were they understanding? Did they understand that his car broke down? How much did it cost to fix is right in there. Why is Tom happy to have his car again? Now, this is a little more open-ended. He can go to work. He needs money because he likes it, because it's, it kind of asking more of the why question. And it gets me to like, helps me to know what their level is for reading comprehension in addition to just the words and vocabulary, especially when I'm having a hard time matching them. Connecting to books. We have small group ESL classes that act as a stopgap for tutoring, but our primary focus is tutoring. So we do not have any GED classes or small adult literacy classes. It's all just one-on-one tutoring. Most of our books are just Laubach and Challenger. For those of you who are familiar with it, you can find them on New Readers Press. Laubach focuses on phonics and early vocabulary. Challenger is more about vocabulary, reading, comprehension, and writing. We also use quick reads, rapid reads, Gemma books. They're great because they're all about third grade reading, 3rd to 4th grade reading level. You can buy them Saddleback, Amazon, New Readers Press. Some are nonfiction, some are thriller stories, some are sci-fi. There's a bunch of different ones about 3rd grade reading level. Laubach has 4 different levels, and it matches like the person's primer to level 1, they're in Laubach 1. If a scholar learner is Laubach 2, level 2, we start them in Laubach 2. Challenger series. Challenger 1 is not a grade level 1. Challenger 1 is more closer to grade level 3 or 4. So often our learners will go through level 1 to level 3 or 4 of Laubach, and then we move them over to Challenger. Challenger is a great series for learners who want to attend college, pass professional tests, or GED, because it's nonfiction stories mostly that target vocabulary, reading, and writing practice. Okay, and that's my presentation.
Shae, that was incredible, and I really want to thank you. I'm just gonna thank you so much for this presentation. It covers so many valuable resources and that I'm a big fan of. I'm going to say one thing, and not to be contrarian. When doing learner intakes about writing on the form, you can have a form for learners. I always found a very helpful approach to say, if it's okay with you, would you write your name here? So it gives people an out. If it's not okay with them. And then if it's okay with them, and if it's okay, would you write your address? And that is, it's both you collecting a writing sample. I think it's super important to collect writing samples at intake and assessment. And it's also looking at their handwriting and knowing, I know people who are big readers who actually don't write and couldn't write their address. Super helpful. And it's also, do people have to take out a piece of paper to read their address and copy it? And then you can have a little bit of demographic information. So I just wanted to put up that counter.
I will add that is what I had advisors come this last summer, and that's what they suggested. So it is something that I've slowly started integrating into my program. I just don't have a finesse. So I actually really like that adoption. Thank you.
Yeah, and you don't have to have the whole
name and
form.
address.
Like putting the whole form
That's
in front of
actually
people
helpful.
in front of people is intimidating, but having something is good. So thank you for letting me stick my nose in here. I'm going to actually pause the recording.